Good morning, everyone. My name is Fred Combs. I'd like to welcome you to the February 2025 meeting of Lextran's Board of Directors. To lead us through our meeting this morning is our board chair, Mr. Harding Dow.
Thank you, Fred. Welcome, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order and call the roll. Ms. Rogers?
Here.
Ms. Borges Gonzalez?
Here.
Mr. Schoninger is absent. Mr. Ward? Present. Judge Thurston?
Present.
Dr. Acappo is absent. I am here. We do have a quorum. We can continue. In the interest of time, because I know, Ms. Rogers, you have a bit of a time constraint, we're going to go ahead and approve the minutes and then readjust the agenda to move into closed session. I believe, Judge Thurston, you're ready to read us into that, and then cover our action items, and then we'll move on to financials and monthly performance later in the meeting. First of all, the minutes for the January 2025 meeting. Has everyone had a chance to, oh, sorry, I skipped public comment. Is there anyone here for public comment? The most important part of our meeting. I do mean that. Seeing none, we will move ahead to approval of the minutes from January 2025. Has everyone had a chance to review, and are there any edits or questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Second.
George, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Judge Thurston, would you please read us into closed session?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. At this time, I move the Lextran Board of Director members to go into closed session pursuant to KRS 61.810, Section 8, for discussion regarding the provision of an agency contract.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We will wait and let us know when we're ready.
All right, the Lextran Board of Directors took no action during closed session, and we will now proceed with the planned agenda items.
Thank you, Judge Thurston. We will move into our action items. Resolution 2025-7 will not be voted on at this time. We will move to Board Resolution 2025-8, Strategic Planning Task Order.
All right, thank you, Chair. We've attached Resolution 2025-08 for our strategic planning services. This task order came from our architecture, engineering, and planning on-call contract. We have two firms who hold that contract, SRF and Kersey & Kersey. Through staff evaluation, we have chosen SRF as the most qualified firm for this work. And we have attached a resolution here for your approval for the task order for strategic planning services not to exceed $150,000.
Okay. Are there any questions? I have one.
Sure.
Should we desire for an increased scope of services during the period of the strategic planning effort, how would we go above and beyond 150,000?
We would just add to the scope.
That would come back to us as part of a change order report?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move.
Thank you, Judge Thurston. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, lady. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Okay. We will move now to, there's nothing else we need to vote on today, right?
I think yes, we need to vote on
Okay,
it, Jamie.
great. So then we'll move to our monthly performance report and financials.
Okay, so while Emily gets to the podium, a couple of things. For Wheels, we did receive 7 vehicles, and we're working towards putting those into service. They'll likely be into service in the next month or so. RATP Dev, we've been working closely with them, and they have increased staffing to make sure that we get all those vehicles into service. And hopefully that will be really a driving factor in on-time performance.
Pun intended.
Good. Now we got Emily off balance now, so.
I might as well be somewhere else. Yes. Okay. So we are going to review the January performance report. And we'll start with our mission. We serve people in our community with mobility solutions. January was an exciting time. The snow and ice were quite impactful, not just for us, but for the entire county. We did have a 2-hour service delay on Monday, January 6th, and then multiple days on varying levels of snow plan, whether that would be the entire service or some routes that were unable to get through their normal areas. We celebrated staff for enduring the winter weather steadfastly we had a coffee truck, a grilled cheese truck, and a hot chocolate truck that came, and then the grilled cheese truck is returning today for lunch. So we got another round and we got another round. So we also have been making strides with the feasibility study for microtransit. We were able to interview 5 peer agencies for case studies in January. Several of our staff attended the Mayor's State of the City and County Address. We collaborated with Civic Lex a couple of times over the month, doing some citizen engagement and then attendance at the Unsung Heroes Awards. And then, as you all are aware, the Strategic Planning Committee staff and TransDev representatives met on the 23rd to start that process. Okay, so moving on to ridership. We did have a bit of a dip in ridership for January compared to last year. Still higher than December. The extreme weather, we do see some changes. That's not the only thing. We are digging in more as to the ridership and why it looks the way it does. So we've noticed Route 14, the blue-white route on campus, is trending a bit lower. We're trying to figure out why. Why, all of those sorts of things. Getting to the numbers to see that it's lower is one thing. Getting to the why is a whole other can of worms. So we're working on that and trying to figure out who, what, where, when, why, how, remedies, all of those sorts of things. Looking at core routes as well, obviously, but that is a big ridership generator for us. So seeing what's going on there is important. Here are some of those numbers. So We were above December at about 260,000 rides. In January, including all of the winter weather, the holiday ridership would account for New Year's Day. And then our revenue miles, revenue hours, those are on track with fiscal year 2024. So for safety, I did want to note, if you see the packet that you have versus the preventable accidents per 100,000 miles, there is a slight change in those numbers. I apologize for the typo. The number is different for the month, so it is actually 4.10, not 4.44. And then the fiscal year to date, it dropped that as well, just the number was lower, so it's down to 3.48 and not 3.53. Still trending above. If we look at the total number of preventable accidents between the 2 years, we are making a concerted effort, still working on addressing that. Weather does nothing for anyone, for accidents and safety and all of those sorts of things. It's not a helpful player in that role. But the safety team has been engaging with staff. We've got regular reminders and updates for folks, looking at what types of things are happening and addressing those root causes versus just what happened, what went wrong, let's move on. Why did it happen, right?
Can you give some examples of what they were, since the numbers are?
What they were.
Yeah.
So things like
It's a lot of mirror taps.
mirror tap. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. So a mirror tap. So I hit my mirror on a pole. Someone else, so preventable would be that I tap my mirror or I tap the mirror of another vehicle. Trying to get through in a tight area, and then sort of not making it. The preventability is going to go in that when the accident is reviewed, that there is something that could have been done that it would not happen. So versus just saying someone took my mirror off, it's that piece to say that there was something that I could have done in that moment that could have caused that to not happen, versus like an ambulance coming by and getting out of their lane and taking my mirror off, if that makes sense. But yeah, mirror taps, that sort of thing. It's still a preventable accident. There may be minor damage, that sort of thing, but it is still a preventable accident. There's still something that we could have done as an organization to prevent that from happening. Maintenance, always excellent. Kudos to Chris and his team. I feel like we don't say it enough. They are doing an excellent job. Again, 100% on preventive maintenance inspections, 67 of 67 for the month. We talked a little bit about the miles between road calls normalizing, which it has. We're back up to 12,969 miles between road calls, and we'll see as that number normalizes, we'll see the fiscal year number normalize as well a little bit. But just cannot state enough, great job to Krista's folks and the work that they're doing. I wanted to give you a little on-time performance update. We talked a lot about the performance of these 3 routes with the December service improvements. So there's a little bit of extra historical information. We noticed in August that we were seeing a dip. So this is for Route 3, Tates Creek, Route 4, Newtown Pike, and Route 12, Leestown Road. We noticed that August was when we saw a hard dip in these. So we were looking at things like, what's going on? Is it traffic? Is it school? Is it construction? And you saw that they jumped around. In November is when really we were seeing a lot of poor performance. January 22nd is when these took effect. So part of the new route and scheduling would be in December, but only for those, I shouldn't try to do math on the fly, only for the remainder of the month. We pulled the January numbers, we pulled some sort of 2-day numbers for the first bit of February. We are seeing an on-time trend. Leestown likely is going to be the most volatile because of the active construction in the area. There were lane closures yesterday. But we have seen a trend. We are still just shy of that target of 90%. We're just under 88% for January overall. But as a team, we've been working to identify additional improvements, additional schedule opportunities that we have and have been moving forward with. Is it the route? Is it the traffic? Is it the timing? How can we improve these routes? So we did want to give you an update. Like I said, Route 12, which is the gray line, is gonna be the most volatile over time because we can't control what they close, when they close, and KYTC is mostly working overnight, but that's still an impactful piece. So we're looking at everything from the schedules themselves, what time of day are they having difficulty, you name it, we're trying to figure it out and looking at different things. But we are seeing a pretty significant improvement. Still monitoring Route 3 because it has not met that 90% goal like we thought it would. But just wanted to give you a little update so you could sort of see what's going on here. Does anyone have any questions about information? I will turn it over to Randolph to talk about paratransit.
Sometimes it's hard to follow up after Emily because she takes majority of the stuff that I'm getting ready to say. So thank you, Fred, for also sharing about the 7 vehicles.
We can talk about it again. I mean, it's worth saying twice.
Well, hopefully I'll make it sound a little bit better.
Yeah.
All right, so the month of January, the paratransit ridership numbers came in at 12,635. Just like Emily mentioned, we did see a decrease in the January ridership numbers compared to the previous month, December of 2024, as well as just drop when compared to fiscal year 24. A big contributing factor of the reduction in the ridership did come from holidays, which included New Year's, also MLK, and then also we were affected with a number of weather-related events. So on the paratransit side, which I'll slide to the next slide, on the paratransit side, weather affects paratransit a little bit different than fixed route because paratransit doesn't go in a straight line, of course. So we have a number of side streets that get service at a later time than the main roads. We also have to worry about customers coming down driveways and also outside of their doors in order to do door-to-door service, which kind of prevents a number of folks that want to actually come out to utilize the service. So that puts a damper on the overall ridership as well as the on-time performance. The total ridership, as stated, came in at 12,635, which is about a 9.5% decrease from the previous month, and also about 300 and some odd trips less than the previous fiscal year of 24. The weekday ridership reflects slightly higher ridership in fiscal year 25, which is trending in the right direction. But when it comes to the ridership on a Saturday and Sunday, which is the weekend, it does take a slight dip. And then you'll also notice some of that ridership focuses in on the ridership on the holidays as well. With the weather-related events, we also have to consider, in the holidays, we also have to consider site closures. And then also with the federal holidays, you have like post offices and banks and different things like that may alternate their hours as well. They kind of shift the ridership. As far as the trips per mile and the trips per hour, it's pretty much in line. 2025, fiscal year 25 is pretty much in line with fiscal year 24, minus a point or so. The safety side, preventable accidents is 0. Great job, RATP Dev, per 100,000 miles. And as far as the paratransit OTP, we also, bring this a little bit closer. We also look at the monthly OTP compared to the audited OTP. And in the board packet, you'll notice that the OTP, the monthly OTP came in at 71.76%. But due to inconsistencies in the RTP Dev's EcoLink software that we're working on, we also conduct a manual auditing process, which when we did the audited process, January OTP increased to 75.76%. Judging from the trend that you see right here, in the last 90 days, the OTP kind of ranged in between 70 and 78%. Overall, increasing steadily. As we work toward reviewing the EcoLink software and the auditing process, we kind of put together a timeline that I mentioned probably last time that I was here, and it's toward the right-hand side. In the month of March, between March and April of 24, we noticed some data inconsistencies with the information that Lextran team was pulling versus RTP Dev EcoLink software. and we immediately try to put something in place to find an equal line of what is the real-time OTP. We wanted to make sure that the information that was being reported inside of EcoLane was actually being categorized in the right direction. So we created a series of narrative reports to complete a preliminary reconciliation process. I'm sorry, a little tongue-tied. So the first process in the reconciliation process was to actually take each individual trip and put it in the right bucket. So a great example of that would be if a trip is being recorded as a pickup to be on time, early or late. We want to make sure that if the operator actually did the due diligence, arrived on time, and picked that person up, it will be recorded as on time, which makes a stronger on-time performance. With the data, we found that some trips, and just a perfect example would be an operator arrived on time to pick up a customer at the customer's request, and it recorded the trip as early. We wanted to make sure that we reflected that trip to be categorized on time because that was a request of the customer, and we actually did what we were set out to do. So we wanted to make sure in the reconciliation process we can record that the right way. EcoLane, we reached out to EcoLane to try to make adjustments along the way. So as we waited on EcoLane to make those adjustments and updates throughout the system, we continued to refine the reconciliation process as we went along with RTB Dev. Sometime around September, October, we entered into a new contract with RTB Dev, and we immediately changed the formula for on-time performance. At one point in time, we looked at on-time performance as the scheduled pickup time. We also, in the new contract, we included the scheduled pickups and as well as the appointment times set by the customer. So we wanted to make sure that we capture every time that we dropped off a customer based off their appointment time as well with the OTP. And in doing so, when we changed that format, we also saw a little bit more inconsistencies in which we anticipated EcoLane to resolve all of the system errors by January of 2025. So the actual update went out in December. We didn't expect any significant changes until January. So here we are in January. We noticed that in the data in doing January's report that a lot of those changes were made, but unfortunately it wasn't at 100%. So we kind of went back to the drawing board, sat down with local and corporate teams from RTB Dev to resolve the remaining few errors that's in the system. So until it's properly changed at 100%, we feel confident that we need to continue showing the process of both the monthly OTP compared to the information that we audit every month to reflect the actual true on-time performance. Along with the month of January, like we both mentioned, weather played a huge factor in the on-time performance as well as the trip ridership. And then also RTP Dev had a few staffing challenges. So along with the staffing challenges came vehicle challenges. Usually during the cold months with the paratransit vehicles, you see a lot more repairs and upticks and things like the lifts and different features, components of the vehicle. So what we did was we got 7 new vehicles that arrived on site this month. Thank you, Fred, and thank you, Paul. And then we plan to transition those vehicles to RTP Dev by the next upcoming board meeting. As far as the staffing, RTP at the point of time in the month of January, RTP Dev was budgeted for 45 operators with 3 part-time operators. At that time, they only had 4. They were 4 operators short. Last conversation that we had was yesterday, and at that meeting, we have confirmed that they are currently 43 full-time operators out to 45, and they still have the 3 additional part-time employees. They do have a hiring process in place with the corporate team, as well as a training process set out that involves in-classroom skills course, and then also behind-the-wheel training with another operator. In that process, we look forward to transitioning all full-time operators into service by first week of March, second week of March. So at that point in time, we are planning for attrition. So we planned on having a full staff by mid-March to help with the on-time performance and as well as the new 7 vehicles that's coming out. So Fred actually had a meeting a few days ago with the corporate team for RTP Dev, and they committed to moving that goalpost of full-time operators from 45 to 49. And I believe that, after speaking with Byron and his local team, that we should reach the 49 goal by the end of March. Along with service improvements, we're also working with RTP Dev to conduct community engagement as well. So we have 4 listening sessions scheduled for this month. First one being Christian Towers, Briarwood, followed by Black and Williams, and then McLeod. So the purpose of listening sessions is to receive feedback on the service, and overall the experience of every customer. And in doing so, we plan to be available to answer any questions that they may have an opportunity for both sides, the team from Lextran as well as the team from RTP Dev, to engage, let them see who's a dispatcher, who's the reservations, who's the GM, of course, and different positions, as well as engage with communicating fun facts about the Rider's Guide. Fun facts would include like cancellation policies, no-show policies, best ways to contact someone from the RTP Dev team, whether it's about a comment, complaint, concern, or whether it's just asking where's my ride. So one of the features that they do have is the mobile app. So we plan to kind of push that out a little bit more. Hopefully we can set up a live demo on how to actually use the mobile app, as well as any features as far as office hours and voicemails. And I know that was a few different topics that was discussed at the previous meeting. So we looked into the voicemail system so we can better explain it. We looked at the IVR system so we can better explain it. And we looked at the functionality of using the mobile app, so that way we can kind of let people know the power of controlling that ride is pretty much in their hands. Do we have any questions? Thank you.
Randall.
Good morning. Good morning. I know you'll have had a lot of information today, so.
But yours is key.
Here's our balance sheet for January. We are 7 months through the fiscal year. Operating cash is good at this point. I'll talk more about that in a moment when I talk about the statement of revenue and expense. Everything else is pretty much normal. It's close to last year. But I'll be glad to answer any questions on the balance sheet. Okay, we'll get into the statement of revenue and expense. Property tax is looking strong this year. We are $1.3 million ahead of where we were this time last year. So that's looking good. Passenger revenue is ahead of last year. Federal funds, we do have good news. We received $5 million in federal funds that we've been waiting on for quite a while now. So you will see that reflected in the February financials. So that $3 million deficit right there will look much better next month. Our advertising revenue and other revenue, which includes UK and fuel tax refunds, pretty much normal for the month. Wages, we have dove into wages for the month. A lot of times when we look at this, we look at overtime, we look at training, we look at sick hours, we look at even everything from weather events to we've had a lot of flu, things like that. So our overtime is up for the month, and we have hired several people that are in training. So while they're in training, we're still paying overtime to other people who are filling those slots. So we have been keeping an eye on that and watching that daily. Fringe benefits, professional services are looking good. Materials and supplies, that's over because of parts. Our fuel, excuse me, our fuel for the month or for the year is still looking good. We are at a monthly average diesel cost of $2.45. This time last year it was $2.61. Our average this year is $2.39, and our average this time last year was $2.89. So that's 50 cents difference that we're looking at right now, so we're glad to see that. CNG is still running at $1.28. Everything else on there looks really good. We've talked about insurance before, property and liability insurance, and our dues and subscriptions, that's a timing thing, so that'll even itself out over the year. But I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have.
On materials and supplies, do we know if this is that we are buying more parts or that the parts are more expensive?
Pretty much everything is went up.
Okay.
Yeah, everything is increased in price overall.
Okay. It's not that more things are breaking, it's just that the broken things cost more. Got it.
Correct. Any more questions? Okay, thank you all.
All right, do we have a change order report this month?
Alan, can you pull that up? There is one for information purposes change order that snuck in at the last moment. It is a Microsoft Office. So Microsoft raised their rates by 5%. Standard, typical cost of doing business with Microsoft. We don't really have much of a say in what they do. But yeah, it's a fairly small change order.
Any old business?
I believe so.
Any new business? Any upcoming business?
We'll continue the conversation around the transit center and strategic planning, of course, that'll continue as well. I don't know that we have any resolutions lined up for next month. I don't think we did. That's
Very
very
good.
good.
All right. Stand adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.